Hello everyone, today we're going to look at some more trinomials. So yesterday we factored trinomials with a leading coefficient of 1. Today we're going to look at some that don't necessarily have that leading coefficient. So sometimes we're going to be able to factor out a common factor first, okay, or find the greatest common factor. So any polynomial, that's always the first step. We always want to see, is there anything common between all of the terms? Something else that could happen when we're factoring trinomials is that they cannot be factored. For example, if I was going to try to factor this one, first of all, look for a common factor. Is there anything common here? No, they don't have anything common, but when I try to factor this, look for factors of 8. So I've got 1 and 8, 2, and 4. Okay, so these factors have to add to make a 2, okay? So we could possibly make a 2 with a negative 2 and a positive 4, but that doesn't multiply to make a positive 8. So there are no factors here that add to make 2 and multiply to make positive 8. So this thing cannot be factored. Because there are no factors that work here. Okay, so in this case, then this is just going to stay like this, and that is our completely factored polynomial because that's as far as we can go. So other examples, so we always want to look for a common factor first. So the question we're going to ask is, is there something I can divide all of these things by? Okay, so all of these things can be divided by 5. They also all have a b. Okay, so when I pull that common factor out, I end up with b squared minus b minus 72. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to look for factors of negative 72 that also add to make negative 1, just like we did yesterday. So negative 72, the factors, I've got 1 and 72, 2 and 36. Okay, when I try to divide by 3, that does work. We're going to get 3 and 24. Okay, 4 goes in 18 times. 5 does not divide it. 6 does divide it 12 times. 7 does not divide it. 8 does go in 9 times, and then this is our complete list. There's no new factors that we can find. So now the question is, can I make negative 1 with any of these? Yes, I can. If I make the 9 negative, 8 and negative 9 are the factors, okay? So my final answer, make sure you pull this 5b down. So I've got 5b, and then b plus 8 and b minus 9 are the factors of this thing. We must include everything. So this must multiply back together to make the original, which this does. Okay, next one. Notice that all of these things can be divided by 3. So we're going to pull 3 out. Okay, so we're left with v squared minus 2v minus 15. So again, we're going to look for factors of negative 15 that also add to make negative 2. So 1 and 15, 3 and 5. Those are all the factors of 15. 3 and negative 5 are going to add to make that negative 2 in the middle. So my answer here will be 3 times v plus 3 times v minus 5. Okay. So here are a couple more examples. So again, I see that all these terms can be divided by 2. So I'm going to pull 2 out. Okay, so I end up with n squared minus 8n plus 7. Okay, so I'm looking for factors of 7 that add to make a negative 8. So 7 factors are just 1 and 7. Those are my only factors. If I make them both negative, those add to make a negative 8. So this thing will be 2 times n minus 1 and n minus 7. And we're done there. Okay, the next one, these can all be divided by 5. So 5 will come out, and then I have x squared minus 3x minus, that's going to be 54. Okay, so now I'm looking for factors of negative 54 that also add to make negative 3. So 1 and 54, can't do it there. 2 and 27, 3 and 18, 4 does not divide it, 5 does not divide it, 6 goes in, let's see here, that would be 9 times. 7 is not a factor, and 8 is not a factor of 54. Okay, so now if I'm trying to make negative 3, 6 minus 9 is negative 3. So those are the factors I want. So my answer here would be 5 times x plus 6 and x minus 9. And we're done there. Okay, a couple more examples. Here we see that we have a negative, okay? Or a negative 4 is our common factor. If we ever have a negative, we always want to pull that negative out first, okay? So here, negative 4 is our common factor, and then I have, also there's an n. Everything has an n. So n squared minus 11n plus 10, okay? So now factor 10, looking for factors of 10, that also add to make a negative 11. So negative 1 and negative 10, those do add to make a negative 11. So my factors would be negative 4n times n minus 1 and n minus 10. Okay. Next example, everything can be divided by negative 3. Again, make sure you pull that negative out if there is a negative there. There's also an a in every term. Okay, so I'm left with a squared. Negative 39 divided by negative 3 is going to be plus 13a, and then positive 30. So I want factors of 30 that are going to add to make 13. So 1 and 30, 3 and 10, or 5 and 6. 3 plus 10 is 13. So my factors are negative 3a times a plus 3 times a plus 10. We're done there, okay? So I think I actually left out one type of problem, so let me do one more. If I had, let's see here. If I had this problem, let me just make up a new problem. We had negative x squared, and let's say minus 10x minus, let's do plus 24. Okay, so this time I have a negative leading coefficient, all right? And even though there's not really a number I can divide everything by, I don't want this thing to start off with a negative, okay? So if this happens, what I'm always going to do is I'm going to factor out a negative 1, okay? So I'm going to say that negative 1 is a common factor of all of these terms, okay? So if I pull that negative 1 out, what I'm left with on the inside, what that's going to do is it's going to flip every sign, okay? So I'm going to have x squared plus 10x minus 24. Okay, so then what I have to do is factor negative 24. Okay, and those factors need to add to make a positive 10 and multiply to make a negative 24. So I've got 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6. Those are all my factors. Okay, so there's two different ways I can make 10. I could make it with 4 plus 6. I could also make it with -2 plus 12, okay? But only one of them can work, okay? So since they have to also multiply to make -24, I have to have one negative and one positive. So it cannot be this, okay? Because that multiplies to make a positive 24, okay? So here are my factors. It'd be -1 times x minus 2 times x plus 12. And we're done there. Okay, so big thing there. If you have a negative in front, make sure you pull that negative out. Okay, it's going to make your life a lot easier moving forward when you're trying to factor the rest of it. Okay, so please go check out the assignment on Canvas. We will be taking a quiz tomorrow on everything we've done with polynomials so far. So please look at the study guide that is posted. Let me know if you have any questions on that. And have a great day.